Runners Only with Dom Harvey.
Runners Only with Dom Harvey and Hadyn Jones. G'day, mate.
How you going?
You're going very well. Thanks for coming over. You must be sore today. We're recording this on a Monday, and on Saturday you ran the Ring of Fire in Tongariro.
Yeah, it sounds like a pepper eating contest or something, Ring of Fire, doesn't it? But it was a run round Ruapehu. From Tura, I did the 50k, which sounds like a bit of a sellout because the whole thing is 70k, but I did the 50, so start at Turoa and end up at Whakapapa, and it broke me.
Yeah, so there's numerous with this event, Ring of Fire. There's numerous different events. I'm mad at you though for like selling yourself short and calling it a cop out. It's still an ultra marathon, and 50k's is nothing for anyone to scoff at, especially when it's an off road thing. Just because it's not the biggest event on the day, you got to stop this. Cut this shit out. Right. I didn't think I was going to start with a telling off, but check yourself.
Well earned too.
Yeah. So you're quite a late bloomer to running. When did you start? How are you? 47 now?
I am 47. I guess so. Well, if you want the long story, this is a long conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm with you all the time.
Well, let's set our stalls. Well, my family were runners, and they were in kind of athletics. You know, in the 80s when John Walker was running around with a beautiful mane of hair and all Dick Quacks and all those sort of guys. So my mum and dad actually started the Gore Junior Athletic Club, and my earliest memory of running was being very, very annoyed that the family relay, there were four by 100 metres and there were 5 in our family, and I was about 3, so I wasn't running and I was never selected for the Jones family relay. Very, very annoyed. So it started with kind of junior athletics and stuff, and I ran the odd half marathon and then just kind of descended into middle age to it and working and kids and marriage and travelling and just life got in the way. And then last year I just think I was just a bit sick of everything, so I just started running longer distances. Started small with 5Ks, and then a friend of mine ran ultras. She's still running ultras. Hi, Helene Barron. And just got into it, and for some reason the body loves to be punished.
What do you mean when you say you got into it because you were a bit sick of everything?
Oh, it was just, I think everyone blames COVID. It wasn't especially COVID because I was in New Plymouth and it's a great place to lock down, all that sort of thing. But just, I have quite a rigorous, I shouldn't really complain, I have a great job at TV and Zebra. I get to go around and meet people around the country, but it's also long hours, early flights, late nights, you know, so it's really tiring. And I've got 3 kids and a wife. You know, I'm just like everyone. We've all just got life, and sometimes you just get worn down. I felt like I needed to go find something that set me free a bit.
Yeah, brilliant. So some would say it's a midlife crisis, and I feel like the phrase on itself, midlife crisis, gets a bad rap. But when you do something like that, I feel like it's a good thing. It's almost like a midlife reset.
Yes.
Right? Like if you keep if you're doing things like 50k runs and you did the Kepler Challenge, which is 60k's, this is going to set you up for the second half of your life. You're going to be a better husband, a better dad, a better person, a better employee.
Hope so. I do feel more alive. Like when I did the first ultra I did was the Taupo one, and it was 50k's, and afterwards I felt amazing. Like my wife said, I don't know what's happened to you, but you need to keep running, because I was sprinting down the beach on the Monday after doing it on the Saturday and just feeling so alive. And I remember doing the Kepler, and I was at an aid station, and a guy said to me, because I talk a lot, I'm sorry to all the people that I run with, but I talk a lot and ask people questions. I try and distract myself from the actual pain of running by talking to people. So it's a full-on, talk show all the way around the track. And I stopped at an aid station, and the guy said to me, Haydn, you are high. You are high as a kite on dopamine. I must have just been blithering away and eating jet planes and
just high on life.
You must have had that though.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic feeling. It's like nothing else, and you just feel. I don't know. I think even though you have lows in these runs, when you reach that finish line and you achieve something that you wondered if you were able to do, you just feel like $1 million, and you feel like anything that you put your mind to as a human being, you can do.
Yeah, really hard to explain, and it still sucks going out when you get out the front door and you've got to run for a training run in the first K. I still feel like a complete plodder and like I'm not going to last till 2Ks. I don't think that ever goes away. My body's like, oh, do we have to run today?
What's this all about?
Yeah.
So were you like largely like lazy or inactive in your 20s and 30s, or what'd you do?
I've always chased some sort of inflated ball, like usually a football, and then I've played cricket and tennis. I was always that kind of kid who played everything. Not amazing at any of these sort of things. Played a few reps up, but just really enjoyed sports and loved team sports. Like I moved through a lot of towns, and if you go to a new town, just join a sports team and you meet you got buddies.
Oh, it's the
within
best
2
way.
weeks.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
Actually, funny you should mention cricket. I messaged a mutual friend of ours, Mike Peru, yesterday, only because I worked with Mike in radio for a number of years, and
Yeah.
he's from Gore. So I thought, I don't know, he must know something about Haydn. I said, what can you tell me about Haydn? And he goes, I didn't really know him that well in Gore, but all I remember is very good at cricket.
Oh, Mike Peru, yeah. There's like 3 of us from Gore. Barry Soper used to live beside his mum, and Mike Peru, who was the same year as me and was big on the radio, and me as well. Yeah, he was great, Mike. Still is great.
Yeah. So you're from Gore. Why did you decide to get into radio or TV? You did radio initially, right?
Yeah, yep. Well, my first job was at the Gore Ensign, which at the time was New Zealand's smallest daily paper, 12 pages, 6 days a week. They called it the 2-minute silence because that's how long it took to read it. And so I started in there just writing when I was at high school. I just thought, well, I might as well give it a go. I wanted to be an accountant, and then I realised I couldn't count. So went to the newspaper and just said, can I write for you guys? And they said yes, because working for free is one of the ways to get up in the world when you're a kid.
100%. That's how I got my start as well.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Knocked on the radio station door.
Yeah, I did like a work experience thing at 2XS, which was the station in Palmerston North.
Yes.
And just volunteered, kind of made a pest of myself. And if they needed someone to help out on the weekends with sausage scissors or whatever, I was that guy.
Yeah.
And then when a position came up, they just gave me the job because they knew I was trustworthy, reliable, and desperate.
And cheap.
Yeah, he's been working for free for 2 years. Why do we have to pay him?
Yeah. Oh, no, you're so right.
But it's still a way now. Like one of my recent producers in radio, Carl Thompson, he got in the same way. Didn't do any study or anything. Just came and he had that hunger and that desire.
Yeah.
And it gets you a long way. It still can work that way.
Oh, still, the same rules still apply. So I did that, and then went to university at Otago for a year, and then the sports reporter resigned at the Gore Ensign, so they rung me up. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to be a sports reporter. That'd be fun for New Zealand's smallest daily newspaper. But I'd also...
Covering all the sport events in Gore.
Oh, all the sports. But I'd just gone to Otago University from Gore, and it seemed like Disneyland. Like, just, everything going. Oh, it was fantastic. I was in Cumberland Hall having just the time of my life. So I did decide to pack it in and go back to Gore for a year, which was difficult. But I just learnt so much from just working as a journalist. And then I moved to Palmerston North and finished my degree at Massey and used to listen to you on the radio. And I actually helped out at your radio station, Steve Rowe.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
When were you there?
I did radio commentaries for, was it Magic?
Oh, Magic 828. Yeah, the AM station.
28, yeah. Magic
Hard
828.
case.
Yes.
Wow, did our paths cross?
Never.
No.
Never met you officially, but just same building. And then I helped out at ZB down the road, and Steve Rowe didn't mind that either. So I worked for both competing companies at the same time. Well, they gave me some money or $10 an hour or something, or
Yeah, fuck all, no doubt.
a free pizza.
So that was in the 90s?
Yeah, like mid-90s.
Yeah, and then then how did you end up in Canada? You ended up in Canada, right?
Yeah, finished my degree, went to Gore, and then the same guy in Palmerston North rang me and said there's a job going in New Plymouth. Got a job up there, and you may not remember, but there was the police shot a guy called Stephen Wallace in White.
Oh, I do. Yeah, smashing windows in the main street of
With
town.
the golf club, yeah, big story, and I covered that for radio, and that just must have done a good job, and then started getting offers after that. Worked up here for a radio news station, and then went overseas, and we moved to Edmonton with my now wife, and she was doing a scholarship there in physical education, and I tried to get a job in radio. There were no radio jobs, so I just rang up the TV station and went in, and the first 2 TV stations gave me a job, or offered me a job. So I worked for CBC there, and then I just kind of made coffee and made phone calls, and then in summer everyone took holidays, so they let me do stories. I always remember the first time I was on TV, and the next day the boss comes over, and I had my desk by the water cooler, which no one wanted. He comes over and he gets his cup, and he kind of half fills the glass, and he goes, Haydn. He takes a sip, fills it up a bit more, and he goes, that wasn't too bad. And then he just let me do stories. So I came back to New Zealand with a tape from an overseas news network, and that kind of got me in the door at TVNZ, and applied for a news job, didn't get it. Bloody Charlotte Glennie got it, who was amazing. And Holmes rang me up and said, because I was a bit quirky and a bit weird, and that's what they were looking for. So they said, come and do a couple of stories for us, and then was there for. I'm still there now.
It's amazing. Now, I don't want to patronise anyone that's listening to this, but for anyone that doesn't know, Holmes was the 7 p.m. show on TV1, now called 7 Sharp.
Yeah.
But it was like game-changing, groundbreaking current affairs TV. It's a massive show.
Yeah.
Like any big start in New Zealand would go on Holmes.
Yeah.
Paul Holmes died a number of years ago, but he was the breakfast host on ZB for a number of years and did this TV show. Like worked both ends of the day for many, many years. Also loved to smoke and drink as well. loved his buttery shards. Loved his ciggies.
He lived a big life.
A massive, massive life and a massive heart. Wow. So so you didn't approach him. He just, you ended up on his radar somehow.
Yeah, they obviously saw my tape when I went for this news job, and they rang me and said, can you come down and do a piece? The assignment they gave me was, can you go to the viaduct and interview people about when Russell Coates was in Alingi for the America's Cup, and he was like public enemy number 1. So I went down with a clipboard trying to sign people up for the Russell Coates fan club. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's a blast from the past. That was a big deal as well. Yeah, Russell Coates and Brad Butterworth, they were considered like massive, massive traitors.
Shit, now we're both sounding old.
Yeah. No, but it's funny. I feel like New Zealand's not the same now. Like if Blair Tuke and Peter Burling decided to go and race for a different syndicate, I feel like people be a bit more mature about it now. Yeah, I don't know, maybe not.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Holmesy was amazing. Just gave his best. And if we couldn't get someone on the show, I've never seen anyone else do this, he would get on the phone personally and ring them up, and he was great with people. Just so good with people. And 9 times out of 10, they would get on the show. He would always grumble about it. He thought the public didn't like him, and we'd get in the car, because I would produce a lot of his field work. He'd be like, oh, do we have to go and do this? This is going to be terrible. Oh, no. And he'd go out there and he would charm them and get what he needed, and amazing. And he was one of those guys, so annoying. He knew everyone's name. We went to a teen mothers unit where they were going to have babies, obviously. Well, they all had babies, and there's like this room, about 8 of them in a circle. And he shook them all and said hi all the way through. I said, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. But on the way out, he said, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sharon. Just knew the whole...
Is that so?
Yeah. And I was like, man, that is amazing.
Everyone talked about Holmes having like the common touch, or being the man of the people, or relatable, or whatever. Yeah. Did he ever yell at you? He had a notorious tantrum on him as well.
I don't want to disrespect those that have passed, but
I feel like this is part of the legacy. This isn't shitting on a dead guy. This is part of the fabric of what made him wonderful.
We were going for the Hawke's Bay because remember SARS? I think it was SARS. No, that would have been too early. Earlier than SARS, there was a bird flu, or maybe pigs flu.
Swine flu.
Swine flu. It was one of those. Right. And so we were going to the Hawke's Bay to interview the doctors and look at the sealed unit and that sort of thing. So we were on a plane in Auckland about to go, and the other reporters from the Holmes program, it was like the first victim was in Dannevirke, and we knew, but we shouldn't know, and we were going to go knock on their door and try and get them on camera. And it was all like, so I couldn't tell Holmes that we knew, because it might intercept our relationship with the hospital people. And so he kind of got wind that I knew that something else, and he was like, "You're not telling me what's happening, going." And we're in the middle of a plane about to take off, and he's on one side of the aisle and I'm on the other, and he's like got his finger at me in my face, like, the name was on the marquee. What's the name on the marquee? And I'm trying to figure out what this marquee he's talking about, and he's talking about the name on the show, and the name on the show is Holmes, and he's Paul Holmes, and you must tell me at all times. I'm bloody never going to forget this. And he went, tore an absolute strip off me, and then we got off the plane, and we had a great day filming, and it went really well. And on the way home in the plane, he goes, "Oh, Haydn, I'm a bit sorry about that. That was probably a bit much on the way over." But he was so likeable and so passionate about it. You had to love it.
Yeah, you take the good with the bad. At the time, though, being like a young journalist, working with the king of New Zealand media, that must have been intimidating as fuck. Like if Holmes is telling you off, it must... feel like a telling off.
Oh, the first few times I just didn't know what I was doing.
First few times? Yeah. After a while, you get immune to it.
Oh, he didn't. The longer I worked there, the less he did.
Yeah,
you just knew when he was going to blow, and he was really very sensitive and aware. Like if something was going down, that he was in the papers a lot for stuff that wasn't to do with his job.
He was news.
Yeah, he was, and we would like in the bottom floor of the TVNZ car park. He wouldn't want to walk past the door where you could see in, because he thought there might have been photographers there, so we'd have to kind of take the long way just to get to the car where we were going sometimes. That sort of level of anxiety, paranoia, or whatever was quite confronting for a boy from Gore who walked for the Gore enzyme back in the day. It was quite surreal sometimes. Especially you'd go out with other people too, and they would like fawn him, or some people would have, not many people had to go at him, but they would fawn him or they'd ask for this or that. They wanted a piece of him. It was amazing.
It's funny, I just want to pick up on something you just said, because Mike Perdue, who I mentioned before, this is something he said a lot. He phrased it differently. Like whenever he experienced some success in his life, like whenever we won radio awards together or had a good time in the ratings or he got a new job, had referred to himself as like not bad for a small gay Māori boy from Gore. You had a few less adjectives there, but do you think like growing up in a tiny small town like that, you'd have sort of lower expectations for what you should achieve?
Well, you don't have expectations. Like I remember when Telethon was in Dunedin, we never drove. That was too far for us, but just TV never came to Gore. You never saw anyone from your town on TV. There was nothing else. So the idea that I would end up on TV was just preposterous.
We're just like too much of a leap.
I thought if I absolutely kicked every goal in life, I could be a sports reporter at the Southland Times. That would be just shit hot.
Cracked it.
Absolutely. And that is a great job. But it's amazing. It's just small steps, You just keep
grinding
away. And just got to find something you enjoy doing mostly, because if you enjoy it, you might actually be okay at it.
Yeah, well, I'm from like a huge city compared to where you guys are from. I'm from Palmerston North, but I feel like it's the same sort of thing in a place like Palmerston North. Like you have low expectations for what you should achieve. And I look back now and I think if I put my mind to just about anything within reason, I probably could have achieved it. It's quite funny. I wonder if it's still like that in the regions and the provinces of New Zealand.
Well, maybe it's more accessible now because of the internet, so people can be internet YouTube stars from their, bedroom or garage, can make a garage TV show or whatever, which is so exciting because there was no access for any of that sort of things, so you thought you'd make the local paper or, But you were big. When I was at varsity, you were massive. You and Mike West, right?
Yeah, that's
Mike
right.
West and Baldrick.
Yeah.
Just muscless and radio.
I think we were quite ahead of its time for like a regional radio show. Mike is still there now. He's still doing the breakfast show now. The station's not called 2XS anymore. It's called More FM. But he's been there forever, and he was so good to me and instrumental in my career. Like, he was. You had Paul Holmes. I probably had Mike West. He just installed a work ethic in me, and like tore me a new one when he needed to. But also praised me when it was deserved, which was rare. That's
good. That's what you want, Just genuine feedback either way. If you've done a bad job, then just let me have it. I think I'd rather know that than just get smoke blown up your ass all the time.
I feel like in today's culture where we're at now, it can only go one way though. Like you can't tear someone a new one anymore. It'd be an HR thing. Like Holmes would be a bully.
I guess
he would be called a bully.
In modern day terms, he would be. Yeah. But people used to have back in the day, when I at TVNZ in the early 2000s, people would have the newsroom. There'd be rows, and people would yell, especially in that kind of. I moved to long form current affairs, which is kind of 2020. I moved to, but. Just kind of upstairs in that bureau, there were hardened reporters and hardened producers, and they all had their own really distinct opinions. So there'll be like stand-up rows all the time and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, rigorous debate.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. There's always some sort of drama going down, and it was.
I like that. It's healthy, but I feel like you can't do it now. You can't raise a voice in the workplace anymore.
No, which is probably for the better overall. But the good blazing row is always good.
So you're busy now, and you've got you're in a very unique position. So you work from Taranaki, and you do Good Sorts, which is on Sunday nights on One News at the end of the news. You also do Fair Go, and you're the full-in for Jeremy Wells. So if you turn on 7 Sharp and there's a good-looking guy there,
it's probably
it means Jeremy's sick. How did you get this over? Was this your call, like to leave Auckland and move to Taranaki? And that must have been a terrifying prospect because it's a lot of people in the media are very insecure. So you think out of sight, out of mind. If you're out of Auckland, you're out of the picture.
People said my career was done.
Yeah, did they?
Yeah, just why are you leaving Auckland? The media hub is Auckland. How are you ever going to carry on? There's a small step you missed. I wanted to give live television a go, but couldn't really honestly crack it. They wouldn't give me a go on breakfast. Remember Good Morning?
Yes.
Between 9 and midday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mary Lambie did it for a while. Brendan Pongia.
Yes.
Who else?
I did it with Brendan and Sarah Bradley for a year. And I always see our audience with those who are in prison or those with new babies or those in rest homes. So people who didn't really have any control of their own free will. But,
Yeah, it was weird. It was like half advertorial.
yeah.
Half
It's 3 hours a day.
content.
It was a lot of cooking was big at the time. I couldn't cook to save myself, so I'd be with this chef. But there was great experience in terms of learning and getting to relax around live TV and just knowing it'll be okay. And there's always, in fact, I find live easier because it's gone, right? It's like live radio, it's gone. It's like this.
And also I suppose something like breakfast, just the quantity of hours you're doing, you're getting the hours in.
Yeah, you're getting your feet. You've got to go and do it. You just got to somehow find the opportunity to go and do it, no matter what it is. If you can just get a chance to do it for money, for love, a high level or a low level. Like people ask me about broadcasting, like school students and stuff. I'm like, man, go and find your local access radio and just give it a go, and then you'll know whether you like it.
So yeah, now that you bring that up, there's one clip that goes to mind that went viral where Brendan Pongia farted. Were you there that day? Were you on that show? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. It was before my time, but
Right.
I can confirm, well, according to Brendan Pongia, he did not fart. So I think it might have been on Eating Media Lunch, and I think during Wells they added it in editing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a bit mean-spirited.
But that's Brendan Pongia's story, so who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so you do Good Morning. Then, so how do you end up back in Taranaki with all these little jobs on your hands?
Oh, well, I just, to be honest, I found it a bit of a challenge, some of the content in Good Morning. So after a year, it was pretty mutual, really. I decided to leave, and I thought that in TVZ were offering the kind of things I'd done back in Auckland. So it was a bit of a crossroads, really, and my wife had just had her first child. She was about 1, so I was like, she wanted to go home to be close to her family and stuff, and we'd met in New Plymouth, so that was kind of really our home. So I was like, okay, so we went and did that, and I just worked a couple of days a week on Good Sorts and looked after my daughter, and we hit every playgroup in the whole town trying to find the best baking, and we had a great time for a couple of years, and then Seven Sharp rang me up and said, can you do some stories for us? So I'm making that change from, there's been so many iterations of that show, I can't remember which one, maybe when Close Up at 7 started.
Right, with Sainzo, Mark Sainsbury.
Yeah, maybe Sainsbury, yeah. So I was in there, so I helped them do some stories for that, and then kind of became a full-time gig, and I kept doing Good Sorts throughout all that time, so then kind of just happened by accident. I learned to shoot and edit, which I really love. So that kind of, and so the TVZ kind of gets the finished product, which is a control freak, which we all are really.
Yeah, and also I suppose it adds more value to what you can do and makes you more indispensable in a way.
Hopefully.
Just backing up the truck a little bit. So your wife's family's from Taranaki.
Yes.
So was there like a much of a debate there? Like you saying to your wife, Santa, this is going to be career suicide for me. I'm going to be fucked, or were you quite open to the idea?
No, I was open to the idea, and I wanted to maybe make some own programs, which I had to go at, which weren't very successful. But I really enjoyed the process and the freedom of it, and I think I enjoyed getting out of the newsroom. It's probably good for my mental health. Because there's so many other people in there and they all want to do this similar thing. I think it's great to just get some air and just concentrate on what you're supposed to do, which is, what they call it content these days, don't you? Create content.
Yeah. So the Good Sorts thing, that was a concept you came up with. I read you ripped the idea off from you saw it in America, and it was called Heroes or something.
Yeah.
So you came back, gave it a more Kiwi name, and boom.
Yeah, it wasn't really the same thing. They did this thing, it was like half an hour, and it was really so American and overblown. It was amazing. It was, people pulling cats on fire out of trees and saving disabled people. It was just amazing. And it was like highly, highly produced. It would have been a crew of thousands. And I thought, what about if we just had something that's a couple of minutes long and people in the community get to say who goes on TV and the sort of low-level things that never, ever make the news ever. They do now in other places. But when it first started, it was all victim TV and some really heavy stuff going on television. I thought, what about something that is really family friendly and that you can sit down with your family and feel a bit inspired, and stuff that happens in 99% of our communities but never makes the news, because the news is the top 10 worst things that happened in the world today in descending order from worst to...
Yeah. Well, I mean, for anyone that hasn't seen it, and I'd struggle to find anyone that hasn't seen at least Good Sorts once, yeah, it's just right at the end of the Sunday night news, just before 7 o'clock on one, and you're just basically awarding, just acknowledging people that are doing good shit in the community, in their community.
Yeah. Pretty much. They feel amazing too.
And it's been going for a long time. How many episodes have you done?
Ooh, probably about 600. It's like speed dating.
So 50 a year, say?
Yeah. High 40s a year, mid 40s a year. And then, for 14, 15 years.
You're joking.
Yeah.
So you've been in Taranaki that long?
No, I started doing Good Sorts in Auckland in 2009, I think it was. 14 years, yeah.
Every time a new, I don't know what the boss, every time there's a new director of news or something, do you like sort of fear a little bit that they're going to be, you know how a new boss comes along and they always want to change direction or do something different?
Yeah.
Is there an element of fear every time a new person comes into the newsroom?
I think none of them have been brave enough to suggest getting rid of it.
Because it's such a nice, positive thing.
Yeah, and I think the number crunchers at TVNZ would like, they call it accelerated flow, so it helps the news program flow into country calendar without people having the chance to swap channel. So keep them happy, get them out of the news show into country calendar. Don't change the channel. That's what the beef counters would say.
Quite a science. Is there one that stands out as your favourite of all time, or is it just you've done too many to?
Well, I love them all for the week they're on, and then they do drift back. But there is one called Jo Poland she's from Port Waikato, and I just had, it was kind of circumstances in my life, but I just had my first child. I've got 3 now, and so I was really big on it. And she was about 60 odd. It's very dangerous to try and guess a woman's age. This is dangerous territory. But she,
if in doubt, just halve it. She was 30. Okay.
Totally. She, one of her relatives had got addicted. I think methamphetamine addiction, and she got an email went round the family, and there were triplets, and it was who's going to take these kids, or they're going into state care. And she was 60 odd, just starting, getting near retirement, at a time in her life where her own children were out in the world, and it was kind of her time. And she took on 3 3-year-olds, and there was like parenting books by her bed, because she was like, it's just different but the same, and I'm not sure how I'm going to parent. I just thought, changing your whole life on a dime. She said the photos in the email was what got her. When she saw the photos of the kids, she's like, I've got to do this. And I just thought, man, that's life-changing.
So selfless, isn't it?
Yeah, and life-changing for 3 of those kids. Like, that's 3 humans that you're like swinging their life around it. And I saw them 10 years later. I did a Where Are They Now kind of Good Sort special, and I drove them to boarding school. Well, they're in Port Waikato. They had to get to boarding school. I was leaving, and I said, I'll get in the car, I'll take you. And it was just amazing. They were kind of telling me in the car about just their aspirations these days and what Joe had done. And yeah, it was like, good on her.
God, that is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. Do you keep in touch with many of the people?
Yeah. Yeah, like social media, if you'll hit you up for bits and pieces, and you see some in the street, and your brain is like, I'm in a full panic about, shit, who is this?
Well, it's been a lot of years. So
yeah. Well, they remember you like it was yesterday. I hate it now. I was like, no, I remember the cup of tea we had.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, but it is really nice. You can go into most towns and there'll be someone you know. So it's a real honour and a joy to be able to do it for so long. And it's also hard work in terms of getting to the place every week, or, someone says Friday nights or Saturday nights at the laptop in the lounge cutting stories madly because you can't miss a Sunday, and there's no, I'm sick, I'm not going to do it this week, or I've taken annual leave. That doesn't work either. So it's, I haven't missed one in a long time. So it's a commitment, but it's worth it like anything in life.
Yeah, real rewarding. And I suppose there's no shortage of applicants as well.
No, and the best ones are like, just kids will go, my mum's pretty good, can you come and see her? So I've done a few of those, and you just back yourself to find something, because no one's boring. You just need to spend the time with them, and they'll tell you things.
Yeah.
Or just like this, really.
Sometimes do you go away from a session and go, oh fuck, it's good, but I haven't. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's no. Who was the lady you said before? Jo
Poland. Yeah.
It's good, but it's no Jo Poland.
Oh no! Well, you've got to just set your expectations that it is what it is. So you don't want to create something that's not there, and you've just got to trust their story. And there's just funny little things that people do that don't even know they're doing that I really focus on and find quite illuminating. I can't give you an example at the moment, but there's stuff all the time. Yeah,
oh, that's cool. And fair go. Hand on heart, I need full disclosure. I haven't watched it in years, but it was part of the fabric of our family growing up.
Yes.
Back, I think maybe this is even before TV3, when there was just 2 channels in New Zealand. Fair go was a big thing, and you'd even overhear people at restaurants or supermarkets or whatever, or at the mechanics shouting out, "I'm going to take this to Fair Go." I feel like surely, like over the years with social media and stuff, that's sort of diminished. What does Fair Go look like now? Is it more quirky than what it was back in the day, or still same sort of fabric?
I think the same fabric is there in terms of that people are really pissed off. And like it's the show that no one wants to be on because you've either been ripped off or you're ripping people off. So no one wants to be on this TV show. So these people are desperate enough that things have happened so bad that I'm going to tell the country about it and the hope that they'll fix it.
Yeah,
so there is a real and you got to feel for them. The bad guys are still the same. They kind of go into categories. It's kind of your dodgy tradie. They're still out there. They're everywhere. And the problem is lack of kind of licensing and stuff. You can stick a roof up and no one really, or plumbers, that sort of thing. I'll get in trouble. But there's also crafty corporates. Like you buy a phone these days, it's like a 4-page contract. Terms and conditions, they're locking you into all sorts of things.
No one's reading it.
No one is reading them. So there's kind of crafty corporates, your dodgy tradies, there's people that just skip town. There's food producers who stick like 3 chips in the chip bag. There's all sorts of crafty things. They're making big boxes with tiny things in them. And the internet is full of, just don't buy stuff on Facebook, people. The internet is just full of things where good, honest people are just going wrong. They're being duped or ripped off. So, in fact, with the internet and stuff, we're needed more than ever. But people think we're a public service. So they'll send us can you guys fix this? Or this guy hasn't paid me this money, or this thing's broken. I only had it
Like
2
a
weeks.
debt collector.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you go, oh yeah, that's great. So we'll come around with a camera next Thursday at 2, and they're like, oh no, I'm not going on TV. I just want you to fix it. And you're like,
Come on, it's all about content.
You didn't realise we're a TV show.
Yeah.
So this is how the whole game works, is that, you have to go on TV. So.
Yeah, and what aspirations do you have? What do you want to do next? Any goals, or are you just quite happy cruising and doing what you're doing? You seem to have quite a good balance between your family life and your life in Taranaki and the superstardom of Auckland.
Yeah, I like to keep creating. So there's 1,000 ideas, and I find the ideas are the easy part in your brain to, and running is one of those things where you've got hours and hours to contemplate your life and where you're going. I'm quite impatient and quite itchy. So, I think I'm just going to keep ploughing on down the track. But I'm very lucky to be able to, live in the provinces, to have those sort of provincial values. Kids can run around in bare feet. We're not, there's no traffic. There's, everyone down your street. I really love that. But also I get to see the best parts of New Zealand on fair go, the worst parts of New Zealand all in the same week. So that's pretty lucky.
Yeah, good sorts and bad sorts.
Yeah, you want to be on the Sunday show, not the Monday show.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your wife Xander before, so you guys must have been together a long time. So you went to Canada together. So you met when? Like late teens, early 20s?
For those who are familiar with New Plymouth, we met through friends. She was a bit younger than me, so maybe my friend at varsity may have babysitted her. That sounds really dodgy.
How big is the age gap?
It's 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. So she was really babysitting her younger brothers and sisters. It's quite a get back to them.
Yeah.
But what was the question?
How did you guys meet?
Well, we met through that, and then we were friends for a year, and then we wrote letters to each other. Gosh, she was at Otago. She was at Otago University, and I was working at Energy FM in New Plymouth. So we wrote letters to each other, and then she came home one summer, and Bob's your uncle, and then she kind of followed her overseas, and
Amazing. It's funny. Little things like that really age the conversation. It's like like writing letters to each other. Is that because toll calls were just so fucking expensive? It would have been, remember when you made a toll call and it was like a $1 zillion a minute or something?
Do you remember the $5 all you can talk weekends where you could ring one phone number once for $5, and I'd come home from the pub in Palmy and ring my girlfriend in Dunedin and fall asleep on the phone in the hall because the phone was only in the hall.
Just to get value for money. Yeah, they did talk. They had animals on the TV ad. It was a big telecom special.
Yeah. People would just talk for hours and hours and hours, like the whole country ground to a halt because they were getting their $5 phone call. I
mean, we didn't know any different at the time because it was just how it was. But and people would do their OA and go overseas, and you'd farewell your kids and they'd go over to the UK for a year. You may not hear from them for 3 months. No. Have no idea what they're up to. Letter writing was the most effective form of communication. Yeah. Fucking crazy. It doesn't seem like that long ago. But
imagine that. Writing something on a piece of paper and it arrived with someone half a week later in the other end of the country.
It's crazy. You got 3 kids. How old are your kids?
13, 11 and 9.
Right.
Which is a great age. Hilarious.
All good kids, all quite different.
Nah, they're ratbacks. No, they're great. They're good. 13-year-old wants a phone. We haven't given her a phone yet, so that's a big kind of debate at the moment.
But everyone else in the class has got one.
They have.
She's literally the only person at
Yeah.
school that doesn't have one.
We offered her one of those phones, kind of granddad phones that can only text and call, and she said it's more embarrassing knowing one of those than to not have a phone. So
Right.
I feel sorry for her.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because it's my sister, she's got kids similar age, like 13, and it's like, oh, Edie's got a phone, but it's just for emergencies. And I'm thinking, I don't know, we never had emergencies back in the day. Hey, they were just...
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Marley's 13, and I got Archer, he's 11, so he's kind of into everything. He ran the last couple of days with me on Saturday, so that's kind of cool to cross the fishing finish line with your kids. That's real fun. And Perry is 9, and yeah, she's all over it too. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Are you a good dad? You think you're I mean, no, I mean, there's always room for improvement, but you, yeah. I suppose where I'm getting with this, we'll get into your past, if you want to.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, 'cause you lost your dad you lost your dad at 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was out running as well.
Yeah, so it does make you pause when I think about my own children, about being the best parent I can be. I'm like, geez, I never had a dad, so I really want to be the best one I can be. And, you know, there's obviously we all get tired and cranky and all that stuff, and I'm all of that, but I do try and, like, if there's something happening at school or an event on or whatever, or if they need a cricket coach or whatever,
You drop
I'm
everything.
putting
Yeah.
where it can be second. I'm getting down there and I'll just work later on at night or whatever. So I know every parent doesn't have that. It's a bit of a privilege, but that's kind of where my focus is. So I often look at my kids and think, man, they're not lucky, but I'm so glad to be around and being able to offer that I didn't have when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, because your dad, Murray Jones,
Yes.
so you were 5 when you lost him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an article and stuff about this, which you wrote it like about 10 years ago. And do you want to talk about the accident?
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of those events that can't help but shape who you are as a person today.
Yeah, well, I do think about it. It's still like losing a loved one. Everyone will know who's lost a loved one. The hurt never leaves, but it kind of diminishes. But it does come back from time. Comes in waves sometimes. And so Dad was, if you're listening to the earlier part of the podcast about 45 minutes ago, Dad was into running. He was a big runner, and we just moved from Ototo, you'd call it now, but back then it was Otautau. He was in the post office, which I feel I need to explain this to. The post office was postage, surprise, surprise, telephone calls and banking. It was all in one. Funny operation, government owned. So he was a phone technician, so he used to move every couple of years to these kind of country exchanges and maintain them and drive around. There's these little boxes that look like sewing machines inside them. So I remember as a kid running up and down aisles of looked like the inside of a sewing machine. So we just moved to Gore and we'd just been in this house 10 days, and he was out running with a couple of friends, and it was just by the Gore race course, and a car came. It only had one headlight on, and so there were 3 of them, and the first guy moved just out onto the road a wee bit because they thought it was a motorbike with one headlight, obviously, and he died straight away. My dad was second, and he was in hospital for 10 days, and the third guy survived, luckily. So I do remember going to see Dad, and Mum had kind of told me on the phone that, because he'd just been in hospital, he had his wisdom teeth out. So I said, is it like that? And she goes, yeah, it's kind of like that. And I don't present her because I was 5. So
Well, she didn't know how to
no,
frame it
no,
either.
exactly, no.
Yeah.
I've never had anything about that. But so I went to see him and remember talking to him and that sort of thing. And then I don't remember being told that he died, but I remember going to his funeral, and we went to counselling as a family, which I think was a really good thing. And I remember Scout sucked a bit because we'd have to go to the father and son dinners, and you'd be at the end of the table with the 4 other kids that didn't have dads. And the poor old Scoutmaster was very busy, but that was, you know.
Shit.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
it was
That's,
rough. And I always loved my football coaches and that sort of thing because they kind of took them on as dads, and there were dads who would. One dad taught me how to fight. That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I read about that in this article that I referenced before that you wrote. Yeah. One of your mates, his dad, like used to wrestle you and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like some God, sorry, I'm getting emotional as
That's
well.
right.
This is a lot, man. Do you feel like your parents like that, of like your mates, they tried maybe extra hard with you because they knew that you had this sort of void in your life? Do you know what I mean?
So probably, mate, they would have been aware
To pick up the slack a little bit.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That was funny, that wrestling thing. It was like on the lounge floor. And he was like, come at me. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, now, if he does this, do this, and all this sort of stuff. And it was hilarious. And really, I guess, it gave me some comfort in that sort of things. There was a few scraps and gore.
Yeah.
But, my football coaches, I remember be like, man, wish I had one of these. These were pretty cool. And the old birthday cake, when you play with the candles, always wish for a dad. That was a bit tragic.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. And in this article you talk about, so the accident occurs and then your dad's on, he's unconscious or he's on life support for 10 days and your mum made you go to the hospital and talk to him.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about that or?
Oh, just, it's funny the stuff you remember. I remember the corridor, like walking down the corridor and going to see him, and I remember kind of his, couldn't see any, like, physical dad. He just looked like dad in bed, really. And I remember, you have the wires out his arm and stuff, and I remember it felt weird talking to him.
Because he couldn't talk back.
No, he couldn't talk back. He was unconscious, right? So you're like, hi, Dad, how's it going? And I've been doing this today and that stuff. But we only did that once, which I think is probably enough. But it was nice to go and see him.
So I was thinking about you on my run this morning before you came in, and I've just turned 50 recently, and I'm very, very lucky to have both my parents still alive. And I was trying to think about the memories I had of like my own dad before the age of 5, and there are some, but do you remember much about your dad?
Yeah.
Man, I wondered, I guess, if the memories are stronger for you because you didn't have any new ones to replace them, or.
Yeah, it's funny at Christmas because my brother and sister, they're 5 and 6 years older, so they have more memories. But it's like anyone, the stuff you remember.
Random.
At the dump, chasing seagulls. Because remember you'd go to the dump and the dump was kind of wide open and there's heaps of seagulls. So Dad was driving around the dump chasing seagulls in the Cortina and he had a trailer on and it jackknifed. And he tried to blame us kids for encouraging him.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Actually, yeah, Palmer's, the weekend trip to the dump in Palmy, that was, I used to hate it if I was out at sport and Dad went to the dump without me. Because I'd always go back with something. You'd pick up some other junk that other people had dropped off. Yeah, the seagulls and the smell, that dump smell.
Yeah, and you could have a look through for everything. You just had to get out of the way of the digger. Is it a digger? Bulldozer. You just get out of the way of the bulldozer on occasions. Life is obviously a bit different, but yeah, so just stuff like that. You remember, and I used to follow him around all the time, and we had a great veggie garden and a terrific mow, and we had a chook house, and he had a radio attached to a car battery, and he'd have the radio on in the garden while he was working, and there's all these wires to this car battery, and yeah, just stuff like that, and a real cool train set that wound down from the garage ceiling, but I wasn't allowed to play with it, and I always dying to play with it. Just, all that stuff.
How's your mum? She's still alive and kicking?
Yep, she's just cracked 80 and she runs. Wow. She goes to the Masters Games and does 100 metres in about 25 seconds. But so proud of it.
I got a bad knee. She'd probably give me a run for the money at the moment.
Yeah, she loves running, and she talks about when Dad died, she really hit the tarmac in terms of running. I think that kind of got her through. So
it's interesting, eh? Like she could have easily gone like the other way and just been triggered by running because of that's the event he was doing at the time.
Yeah.
So who was in the house? So you, how many other siblings?
I've got an older brother and sister. They're 5 and 6 years older. So I think my older sister took on a lot of responsibility of kind of keeping everyone aligned and getting things done. I think Mum obviously helped as well. They kind of worked together. I think it's funny that the way he died, I ran a relay, the Round the Mountain relay in Taranaki. I ran a couple of legs for a law firm a wee while ago, and my leg was at 6 a.m. in the morning, and it was dark. So I remember running, and I didn't have enough lighting. I remember running along this road, and these trucks were whizzing past me. And I was like, bloody hell, this is too close for comfort. This is like, I felt this is just, it's really, it's triggered by it, really.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's strange. There's sort of the odd thing that pops up like that. But, onwards and upwards.
Yeah. I mean, it must be something that, like when your kids are all past the age that you were now, like it must have been something that's like, very clear in your mind when they're the same age as what you were when you lost your dad.
Yeah,
Things like that.
yeah. It does really make you, just really enjoy those moments that you have with them and take heaps of photos. And I'm always sometimes I have a camera out or there's a camera on my phone, all that stuff. Just, you got to make the most of it.
Yeah. God, you think he'd be proud of the man you've become?
Oh, yeah, I'm not perfect by any means, but I hope so. I think he'd probably get a chuckle out of the running and stuff, and he was quite technical, so he would have probably enjoyed all the technical bits and pieces of tally, because I'm in the technical side too in terms of making it and getting it up to Auckland. He would have loved all that. He loved, he had a great moustache, which TVNZ don't like my moustache. So they keep telling me to shave it off.
You don't have one today. Is it a Movember thing or?
Oh, no, over summer I usually
Right.
just grow one, and then the odd time I've grown one during the year, and the odd boss doesn't like it at work. So give me a wee whisper to
Come on, mate. Sort it out.
tidy it up, yeah.
Sort it out. We'll get someone else, mate. There's a million other people behind you that can do your job. Yeah. So with the move to Taranaki, I suppose another person that springs to mind is Matt Chisholm.
Yes.
Similar sort of thing. Did a bit of TV current affairs stuff. Was hosting Treasure Island. He made a call to move out of Auckland, move down to the South Island, and hasn't worked as well for him, I don't think. Like he was quite open about being shit canned from Treasure Island last year as the host.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because whenever something like that happens, they always say, "Oh, you can control the narrative." You can control the narrative, and but he went on Instagram and was very vocal about the fact that it wasn't his call.
Yeah, because I worked with Matt, was on Fair Go for a while.
Yeah,
for about a year or so, and he was great on Fair Go. He loved chasing people.
he's such a chaser.
But he, I think he'll openly admit he kind of consumed him the demands of the job, and you got to get an outlet. So I think going down south for him, he loves it, and I'm very envious of his social media game with his wide open space. He's living in a beautiful part of the country, and wife and kids, and the rest of it's kind of small fry, isn't it? Really.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is. How's your mental health been over the years?
Oh, pretty good. No, pretty good. I don't get too down. My wife would probably disagree in terms of I'm quite impatient, so if things don't happen quickly,
Tell me about
that
it.
sort of thing. And near the end of the year, you get like everyone, you get tired. You get to kind of November or December, and I just don't want to see another plane or another motel room, and in faraway places. But other than that, really good. I spent January in a little place called Kinlochleigh near Lake Taupo, and that's kind of just drag the kids around the lake on the boat and just run. The tracks are amazing, so I run lots and watch cricket on the couch and just chill out. I think that's really important, to try and get rid of your phone and just chill out.
Yeah, are you quite good at knowing what makes you feel good mentally, and what makes you feel bad mentally, and separating the two? And
I think too much looking at social media because the world is perfect on social media, and if you watch too much of it, you think, oh, they're doing this and you're doing that, and so you can feel inadequate, like suddenly what you're doing is not enough or whatever, which I think is a real dangerous kind of rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
So I think you need to just ease up on that and just get off it. just get off it.
it's hard though, isn't it? Because it's I said, you sound like my girlfriend. She's always like, oh, you're on Instagram again, just zombie scrolling, and I'm like, oh no, but I need to for the podcast. Reality is, I mean, I could put aside like 30, 45 minutes a day where I do my work on Instagram or social media. Yeah. But instead, every time I've got nothing to do, I'll just pick my phone up and I'm on it. And I know it's has a negative impact on your mental health. Yeah. But it's so fucking addictive. It's terrible. It's dangerous.
This sounds really cheesy, but we're lucky enough to live quite close to no beach views or anything. We live like probably 300 metres from the beach down the end of our road. Yeah. So take the dog, I got my first dog 4 years ago, and I'm like, we are never getting a dog. And then this dog came into our lives, and man, because it wants to go to the beach every day and just walk down the beach, or it can run with me for about 5k, and then it's had enough. And that's just a great reset. Even if the kids are cranky, take them down to the beach and just throw sticks for the dog, or have a swim, or just, it's just that great reset.
Oh, fresh air, vitamin D.
Yeah.
Yeah. all those things. So were you, you would have been at TVNZ when Greg Boyd was there?
Yes.
Yeah. Were you quite close with him? Or
No.
No.
No. I thought he was amazing and
Yeah.
so funny. One of the most funniest, underrated guys in terms of, because he was the first host of 7 Sharp. With,
Yeah, that's right, with Alison Moore and Jesse Mulligan.
Yeah, and I just never thought somehow it really showcased how funny he could be, because he was hilarious. So I was obviously
Sharp wit.
shocked when he took his life, but I wouldn't say I was
Yeah.
close to him.
Yeah, because I had a friend in radio that took his life a similar time to Greg, and that sort of set me on a social, like a mental health like journey of discovery, I guess. And
Yeah.
just because my friend Daryl, I thought, if Daryl can be this low, then what's stopping anyone else, being in the same sort of position? So it forced me to make some like big changes, like personally, which is good.
Do you feel free doing this now? See what's happened. I've started interviewing you.
Yeah. I do. I love what I'm doing now. I feel it's better for my soul.
Yeah.
I feel good about having good conversations with people with less sort of restriction.
Yeah, well, this is the opposite of what you were doing, right? You were on the 4-minute, keep it quick and snappy.
Yeah.
Get the gags, move on to something else, sort of.
Yeah, well, I mean, if this was a radio interview and one of your answers went for like more than say 30, 45 seconds, everyone would be looking at the watch like, fuck, tell Haydn to hurry up. His answer's too long. We got to get to a funny question.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But it's nice to have these conversations with people where you can cover some deep stuff and let stuff breathe.
Yeah.
But no, it's good.
This is my wife's worst nightmare, me talking for 45 minutes.
And what's next for you, like running wise? What are you doing? You got any events lined up?
Oh, well, this was I was going to take a wee break after this, but the internet is full of events. There was this thing down in Oxford I was looking at the other day. It's New Zealand's toughest marathon, and it's I think it's 3.5 k's uphill. So you just go up and down this hill and up another one, and that's in like middle of April. It seems, because I've got to a place where
You've already got the fitness.
I'm quite fit, and it's like, well, I don't want to completely waste it. I play football during the winter, but it's like, but I don't want to run and kind of grind away in winter either, because running's amazing, but also you're tired and sore sometimes on Sundays, and I'm not a morning person, so I tend to run when it's dinner time, which is not
What do you
popular.
mean you're not how can you, if you've got 3 kids, you must be a morning person?
No.
Like, what time do they wake you up? Or are they at ages now where they're quite respectful?
No, Archie gets up at 7.
Right.
He'll try and sneak into the lounge and turn the TV on if he can get away with it. But Perry will wake up at 8. We have to drag her out of bed to get to school, by 8:30, 8:45.
How old's Perry?
9.
9.
And the
Wow.
13-year-old's a bit of a sleeper too. So, we're not like early. We've been really lucky. Our kids were never early birds. So, no, I can't. I wish I could get out of bed at 6 and run for an hour and be full of the joys of the world by 7 and, ready to kick ass and take names by 8.
There is something very smug and satisfying about getting that long run done like before sunrise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got a 30k training run, get up at 4 a.m, get it done, catch the sunrise and be finished before your kids even wake up.
Yeah.
It's hard to do to get you out of bed, but once you've done it, you feel $1 million. Otherwise it doesn't, don't you find it just, if you're doing it in the afternoon or evening, it just sort of hangs over your head all day?
Oh, yeah, well, you got to know you got to do it. But I've found the joy in night running. So as long as you don't eat too much dinner, give it a bit of time, give it like an hour. I take the dog sometimes because she loves chasing cats, and there seems to be more cats out at night. So the cats are out over, the dog's like all over the place. But you kind of got the place to yourself, so you can run up there's some great walkways in New Plymouth you can run up and down, and the moon's out, and there's no one else around. It's really peaceful. Just the you get home at 10 o'clock at night, and smack
You're going late.
Yeah, night running. Yeah, and yeah.
You got a head torch or?
Sometimes we'll just run in the with the road lights, but you get back at 10 and you're super pumped, and you're not going to bed for a few hours.
Yeah, then you'll be wired. Just the endorphins flowing for a couple of hours.
Yeah, and I've got a real joy of a cold beer after a run. I feel
Yeah.
like you've earned it. So I do I know all the nutritionists say you probably shouldn't do that, but especially I found joy in getting up the mountain, Mount Taranaki, so I'd never really got up there a lot, so I've been up there, and there was obviously good training, and just, it's amazing up there.
Yeah. What's your relationship like with alcohol? Pretty healthy one?
Well, I'm 47 now, so tend to knock it on there. I find I still love a beer, and there's a few weekends. There's 10 guys from Gore. We all get together once a year, and we give that a good nudge. But most of us are like by midnight, just got to because the hangovers are just like never ending. So no, I'd matured.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
good.
boy from Gore, we all gave it a nudge back in the day.
Yeah.
No different to any other kid.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's a movement in New Zealand towards, non-drinking, not sort of becoming like the fashionable or popular thing, but definitely more of a movement. I feel like more of an understanding of people. If someone says they choose not to drink, you're not going to call them a pussy or
No.
or bully them into having just one.
Remember that?
Yeah. Well, I had David Seymour on the podcast a couple of months ago, and he just prior to the last election, he had like 2 years where he didn't drink at all. And he said he'd go to a bar or something and ask for a non-alcoholic drink. And he said they'd look at him like he's got a penis growing out of his ear, which is a funny way of looking at it. But it's, I feel like that is sort of being diminished now.
Yeah,
I'd like to think it is anyway.
The stats would suggest that we're drinking, especially young people. Like we worry about the young people and all the stuff they're into, but the stats say they're drinking less than we did when we were around.
Yeah. So also, back to this marathon you're talking about, the New Zealand's most difficult marathon with a lot of
Yeah,
you're going to do that, or
I might give that a crack. And then I was on Facebook the other day and I saw a friend who had run the Milford Track in one day, because Milford Track it's all booked out all year. Well, you can only go in summer, but it's booked out all summer. But you can get the boat there and then run it, and then get the boat out at night, and you don't have to book because it's still open as a track. I thought, oh, that seems fun.
How far's the Milford Track? What's that? 60, 50?
I think it's 52 or something. And
piece of piss for you.
I doubt it. But just stuff like that. It's like, just have adventures, because there's not a lot of adventure left in life. Life is very structured, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and you can eke out the odd adventure. On Saturday, I was stuck in what seemed like the desert on the far side of Mount Uruapihu. Couldn't see anyone, trying to find where the next pole is, suffering away, and there's a part of you that just thrives for it, eh?
Mm.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, the poles you're talking about, like those big metal waratahs, I think they're called.
There was no track over there. It was just waratah to waratahs. You're just kind of hopping through rocks, and I got lost for a bit, and then I saw another runner kind of up a few hundred metres up the mountains. Had to kind of go back up there and find the spot, and just you feel alive.
I did a run like that a few years ago called the Motor Tapu Challenge, which goes goes from Wanaka to Arrowtown, and I thought, this is a good entry-level ultra. It's like 52, 55K, whatever.
Yeah.
So not too much further than a road marathon. But fuck, it was the steepest thing I've ever done. So much vert. And I was standing at the start line with my head torch on. And the first couple of Ks are just flat on a gravel road before you hit the trail. I was looking around, sizing up all my competitors, thinking, oh, that elderly lady, I'll beat her.
Yeah.
Those guys, I'll beat them. And I was just smoked by everyone. All these people with poles who obviously knew what to expect were just passing me throughout the run. It was the most challenging thing. And there's parts, these waratahs, these poles that you're talking about as a guide, like you're running along and sometimes they're hard to see. You can't see a competitor in front of you or behind you. But it's the most, I don't know, man versus wild sort of thing, I guess, city dwellers like us can experience.
That's what the thing I do love about ultra running is it's not really a race. Well, not at my level. It's not really a race. You're not racing anyone. So you catch up to someone, and I stop We have a yarn with them. I chat things out. How's it going? And how are you doing? Where you from? What are you doing? Poor bastards, they get bloody interrogated by me. But
oh my God, you're not filming, are you?
I passed one guy on Saturday, and he goes, "Love your work," and then he goes, "Have you considered covering the field with a fielding field days?" Catch you later.
Do you get a bit of that, or people saying this isn't for your fucking TV?
Yeah, you get the old. We had to stop at the old, because there's one person across the swing bridge, and there's a big pile up there, and you're standing there at the bottom, trying to eat at the back of the queue, and the woman turns around and goes, "Oh, is this going to be on the news tonight?"
Yeah, I'll just pull my camera out of my ass.
I was like, nah, day off.
Yeah.
But it is great than those ultra events. There's no real racing, because you're just trying to survive and get to the end. And there's a kind of feeling of together rather than anyone's an opponent. It's just, how are you doing? Do you need help?
Yeah, I agree. It's it's quite different to road events. There's that real sense of community. It's really cool.
And no one really, at the level I do, no one cares about time. Like, it was 8.5 hours on Saturday, and you feel like you kind of go, oh, maybe I could do 8, but I've never done it before. And then I was about halfway with the 1 aid station where I was like 5 hours. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be forever. But not concentrating on your watch. I don't try not to look at my watch.
Yeah, it's not about that. So you got any aspirations to go real long, like do a 100 miler or?
Don't know. My friend who kind of coaches me on the side, Elaine Barron, she just did the 160K at Tarawera, and I was following her dot around the map. Like, she thinks she finished at 2 a.m. and I'm just like, this is insane.
It's horrible.
When
Yeah,
you-
160 k's. Yeah, that's the miler, right? 100 miles.
Yeah.
It's just insane. It's like running Palmerston North to Wellington.
Yeah, I think she took
Bonkers.
22 hours or something. It's
Yeah.
just so much admiration for her, and also admiration for the event, but admiration for the training, because that's the bit that no one sees. And you know, she was getting up at 3 a.m. and running 50 k's before breakfast, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, that's the thing, that the event itself, the 22 hours, which sounds like torture to most normal people, is actually the victory lap.
yeah,
Right, that's the thing. That's the thing you do where there's support crews and spectators,
it's a party.
and you get the ponamu at the end,
Yeah.
and you feel like a rock star for a couple of minutes. But what people don't see is the 6 months, 8 months, 12 months before that, where you're going out in the middle of the night doing
Yeah.
those 50k runs.
and their families. Mum's gone, the person's gone, and then you know that by 6 p.m. that day they must be totally wrecked. I don't know
Yeah.
how people function.
Yeah. Oh well, it's been great to chat with you today.
Yeah, thank you for having
It's
me.
fascinating. I really, really appreciate you coming over. I'm surprised our paths have never crossed at an event. It seems like we've done a lot of it. When did you do Kepler?
Oh.
Did you do Kepler last year?
No, I did in December, which was last year.
Yeah,
I
right.
have seen you at the they call it New Zealand's easiest marathon. It's the, what is it? The No Mistake Marathon. It's mountain to surf in New Plymouth, and I was running the half.
Oh, that's right. I did that a number of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd
Yeah.
you enjoy that?
I hated it. It was awful.
It's straight downhill,
mostly downhill. Yeah, starts at Mount Taranaki, finishes in Waitara. But the last 10 or 15 k's, it's just like a flat road.
Yeah.
Into Waitara. There's no people cheering on the side of the road.
No.
You look in front of you, you can't see anyone. Look behind you, you can't see anyone. You wonder if you're on the right path.
Yeah, just cows. Just company.
Yeah. It was all right. I was supposed to get a Kepler last year as well, but I Did you get like a celebrity pass in, or did you have to get up at 3 a.m. and
No, I didn't do either of
reset the
those
computer like everyone else?
No, well, I only saw I was doing a good sort in the route burn track as a warden, hut warden, and we had 3 hours to walk into his hut. He had established a trapping program, and so we got 3 hours to chat away. And he's told me how he'd done this Kepler challenge and the training he'd done. At the time, I'd never done much running, really back into it. And at the time, I thought, oh, imagine spending all weekend running. God, I'd be unpopular at home. I'm never going to do that. And then bloody Facebook, it came, somehow it must have heard me talking to this Doc Warden in the middle of nowhere in the route burn. And Facebook scrolled down, and Kepler Challenge, and I clicked interested. And my mum, who must have a PhD in Facebook, like 10 seconds later, my phone's ringing. Are you doing the Kepler Challenge? I just saw you're interested in it. I'm like, oh, my God. No, I'm not. And then I didn't think about it again. And then the deadline passed because you got to get up at 6 a.m. to try and get online to get a...
It's easier to get tickets to Harry Styles than to get into the... It sells out in like a minute, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a wait list that's longer than the actual list of competitors. It's
So
crazy.
there was none of this, and I thought, so I emailed them, and they said there's a charity entry where you pay $1,000, and you can get in, and there's 20 places of those, and the money goes directly to a Te Anau organisation. I think it was for new cricket pitch, and there was a shade sale at the Kindy or something that year.
Cool.
And I was like, okay, I think I can do that. And actually, by paying $1,000, it made me really committed. Because maybe I'm a tight ass, but I was just like, I've paid
$1,000 is a lot.
Yeah, I've paid $1,000 for this, so I'm, this money could be going to other things in our family. So that made me committed, which is really a good thing.
Yeah, you enjoy it?
Oh, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, loved the first 5 hours. Hated the last couple.
But the first 5 hours, that's uphill, and then it's downhill,
mountain.
right?
Yeah.
Uphill to the Luxmore Hut?
Yeah.
And then all the way downhill.
Yeah, so it's 60k, so 30k is in the mountains, but they say the event really begins once you've done the mountain section, because you get down right on the 30k mark, and you think, 30k's a flat, I can do that. But then all the mountain stuff that your legs have gone through.
Oh, your legs are just shot?
Yeah, so I got 10k's from the end. I had a mate from Invercargill, and I'd never done this thing before, and he'd never support group before. I said, can you have a bottle of Coke? So I heard Coke's quite good for you to get you.
Oh, flat coat. Yeah, it's like petrol.
Wow, flat's the operative word. He didn't know it was supposed to be flat. So I chugged this Coke. Felt amazing for about a K, and then my stomach just ebbed. I didn't spew it very close.
You just need to drop a couple of Mentos in as well.
Oh, went it deep, man. It was bad.
Jeez. I was supposed to be in last year's Kepler. I managed to get a spot, but I had knee issues. to, but the organisers have been kind enough to defer my entry to this year, and I just can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm chomping to do it.
Fantastic.
It's like a lifelong goal to do the Kepler Challenge.
Well, I say no one cares about time and ultra distance, but you get greedy, right? So I did 8 hours in 1 minute. So I'd love to go back and do something with 7. So maybe I'll see you at the start line.
I think that's the thing. Once you've done it once, you have like a benchmark, don't you? Like a personal benchmark to compare it to.
Yeah, and I met people on that track that had done 7 times, 8 times, and at the time I was wondering why I would have brought them back, but I can see now why they would. Just pray for good weather.
All right, well, maybe I'll see you there this year.
Yeah.
Maybe we can share a room together at the Distinction. Is that the place? There's like one hotel where you stay at.
Yeah, my friend from Invercargill, he stayed in the room with me at Distinction, and we got up at 5 a.m. Sorry, this podcast will never end. We got up at 5 a.m. and we're like, let's role play this. What's going to happen? Because what am I going to forget? Because I forget everything. So I got all my bag on and I got my drinks, got my food, got my running shoes, got my number. What can go wrong? Cock a hoop. Got out, got in the car, got to the start line. 10 minutes to go. Look down and I'm like, that guy must be on home detention. He's got an ankle bracelet. And then I'm like, that's a transponder that you need for your timing. So my friend Nick drove 140 k's back to town to get the transponder, and I got there with a minute to go. He put it on with a minute to go. But at the start I was panicked, but then at the end I was just sitting there chatting to the guy with a steward, and I was like, look, it's 8 or 10 hours of running. If I start 5 or 10 minutes late, is it really going to matter?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But did you manage? So you managed to start with the rest of the pack?
Yeah, right at the back,
right.
Which I do like starting at the back because you can pass people, which is good for your morale. In saying it's not a race, but it always makes people. You'd rather pass people than be passed. And there's plenty of people to chat to on the way up, and it also makes me go slow, so you don't. We've all sprinted out of the gate and then paid for it later on. So.
100%. You say it's good. It's good starting at the back. Hello, this is Kanye, my dog. He just arrived. Kanye, that's Haydn.
How's it going, buddy?
Hey, come here. Well, you say you love to chat to people, but if you start at the back last year, it's lucky that you even... Yeah, Brodie Kane, she was running last year. She loves a conversation. You're lucky that you got past her.
Well, I don't know where she was. Yeah, because we texted a wee bit afterwards. I said congratulations and stuff. And I didn't see her. I thought I would have heard her. You normally hear her before you see her.
She did a lot of Instagramming while on the Kepler Challenge. Yeah, there was a lot of stories.
While she was doing it?
Yeah, while she was doing it. She looked like she was having more fun than anyone else that day.
Yeah, she's a great person.
Which is key. Yeah. All right, hey, Hadyn Jones, thank you so much for coming over, man. I really appreciate it. I'm going to wrap this up now because my dog is trying to lick my face off.
It's a full-on make-out session.
I was exactly the same as you. You mentioned before you got a dog a few years ago and you were the family member that was handbraking the idea.
Yeah.
I was exactly the same. Did not want this dog at all. This was a 40th birthday present to my ex-wife, JJ.
Yeah.
But he loves me the most.
There you go.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm obsessed with him. He's a huge part of my life.
They choose you.
Yeah, they do. Hey, thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And you truly are a good sort.
Thank you very much.